Okay, so guys, I know this is not the most exciting topic, but it's important we talk about it, okay? Now listen, United States uses what's called a progressive tax code, meaning the more you make, the higher percentage of your earnings you pay in taxes. In opposition to, say, something like a flat tax. If you had a flat tax in this country and everybody paid 12% of their income, a millionaire would pay $1 million, would pay $120,000. Somebody that made $10,000 a year would pay $1,200 in taxes. Okay? Or a consumption tax is another idea where you pay taxes on what you consume. So the wealthy, likely to buy nicer cars, more expensive cars. They're going to pay more consumption tax, bigger houses, boats, jet skis, these sorts of things. You really get to determine your taxes based on what you consume. The poor consume less. Hopefully you don't tax things like food, which are necessities, and clothing, which are necessities, but we do in Kansas. So you could see like a 23% consumption tax. So it would be like a sales tax on everything. 23%. And that's how the government would get its revenue. Like either one of those ideas? Or we could have this convoluted tax code that we have now. Okay? Which is thousands of pages long. Oh, by the way, I was just reading an article. You know what there's a shortage of now? Tax accountants. You'll make money. You'll find a job if you want to be an accountant. Okay? Now, guys, in 2017, Donald Trump took office. Republicans controlled both houses of Congress. They put in place some pretty big tax cuts. Those tax cuts are alive and well until the end of 2025. When 2026 rolls around, those tax cuts will sunset, which means we will revert back to the old taxes that we had before Trump. What does that mean for you? Let me show you. Okay. So today, I get my mouse over there. This is the tax code that we live under right now. Okay. So if you are poor, make 0 to 10,000, which is probably most of you in this room that have a job. Some of you don't. Did anybody in here make more than 10 grand this year? If you did, God bless you, man. You're working hard, going to school and working your butt off. Okay. So as you guys know, you're poor. You're poor people. Okay. So most of what you pay in federal income tax, which is 10%, will come back to you in the way of a refund. What you won't get back is the 6.2% for Social Security and the 2.4% for Medicare. Okay? You won't get that back, but you'll get the rest back. Now, if you were 22 years old and you were in this tax bracket, you would get your refund back. Plus, they'd probably send you a check called the Earned Income Tax Credit. Remember when I talked about welfare? About people getting an additional check. Okay? Now, we don't make the poor pay a lot in taxes. Now, if you look over here, in 2019, the top 1% of earners in this country paid 38.8% of all the federal income taxes. 1% of the people, almost 40% of all the taxes. Equivalent of about $612 billion. The bottom 90% combined put in $461 billion. In 2015, the top 10% paid 70.6% of all federal income taxes, and the bottom 50% paid 2.8%. You may have heard me say this before. Roughly 48% of the U.S. population pays 0 federal income taxes. If you are working and you're the working poor, you pay Social Security and Medicare. Okay? But federal income taxes, that's different. Now, if you look at this, Okay, most single people are going to wind up in here. Okay, you guys mostly will have college degrees, hopefully in the next 4 or 5 years. Okay, you should be able to find something in here. Okay, you're really kicking it, you're single, get in here. Okay, most people will never get above that. You know what I mean? Unless you're a doctor, you're in upper management, you own your own business, these sorts of things. Okay. Now, for the wealthiest tax bracket, making 539 more, or as a couple filing jointly, 647, the top tax rate is 37%. Okay. Before Trump was in office, I'm going to show you what it looked like and what it's going to go back to. When Trump cut taxes, he cut taxes for everybody, including the poor. Watch. So you got 10, 12, 22, 24. This is what it was. 10, 15, 25. So we added a new bracket in here. And this is now 12%. So Trump cut taxes on, this is your working poor. Excuse me. These are the people that have jobs. They're working. And we want to encourage people to work. We'd rather them work than be on welfare, yes? So we cut taxes there. This is now 12%. And then you have a 22% and a 24% in here today. Okay, now, did he cut taxes on the wealthy? Yes. Now, if you look at the other graph, 37%, this number is 560,000 instead of 400. Okay, so he did cut taxes on people, at the higher rate, at the wealthiest. Okay, he cut taxes for everybody. Now look over here. This is the corporate tax rate. So when Trump came into office, corporations had to pay 35%. Guys, that is amongst the highest in the industrialized world. Near the top. Very high corporate income taxes. Why did Trump lower it to 21? Because he wanted to help his rich friends? What country was the focus of Trump's ire for the most part when he was president? China. Okay, listen. Many other countries around the world don't have labor laws like we do. So you ever turn on Shark Tank? You ever watch Shark Tank? They say, oh, well, when you go in front of these investors, you want them to invest with you. And so they say, how much does it make you to make that product, that unit, per unit? Well, how do you get the cost of a product down? Cheap labor. Yes? So American businesses have been doing this. They come up with an idea, they make it, and they say, I can make this really cheap in China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Guatemala, Mexico, Indonesia. Okay, so American businesses go overseas. And those jobs that could be given to Americans are now in the hands of people in sweatshops, like Apple and Nike and others. Most of us. Most of the things we're wearing was made in another country with cheap labor. Including this iPad that I'm using. Including that LCD. Including this screen. What Trump was trying to do was say to American corporations, we're going to cut your taxes. We want you to stay here. This will allow you to do your business in America and hire Americans and give them jobs. And those Americans that get jobs become taxpayers. So what you're losing in corporate income tax, you're gaining and having higher employment numbers in the United States with better paying jobs. These greedy corporations that make billions of dollars. Elon Musk owns SpaceX, Tesla, and now Twitter. Elon Musk has created more taxpayers in this country than any politician in Washington, D.C. right now. Do you understand? When Cessna builds a new plant in Wichita, Kansas to make airplanes, they are creating good paying jobs and creating taxpayers. Those taxes benefit our community. The rich, greedy corporations, small businesses. You guys know what a small business is considered in the United States? How many employees? 500. That's a small business. Okay, small businesses employ most of the people in this country. If we allow those small businesses to go overseas and make their stuff there, we're losing that revenue. So that's what Trump was trying to do. Whether you like the guy or not, okay, that's what he was trying to do. Okay, and I don't blame anybody for not liking Trump. It's okay. This policy, what he thought would work, bring more manufacturing jobs here. Okay, now, how are we in comparison to other countries? Before I get there, let's talk about state taxes. The state of Kansas, and other states. This is always fun to look at, okay? So Kansas, guys, our tax code in Kansas is very simple for state income tax. If you make less than $15,000, you pay 3.1% in state income tax. If you make more than $15,000, 5.25. You make more than 30, it's 5.7. Nice and simple. Now let's go to California. California, if you make $1 million, you pay 13.3% state income tax. Remember the tax bracket for a millionaire for federal? What percent? 37. 37 plus 13 equals half. Elon Musk used to live in California. Now he lives in Texas. What's he paying in state income tax in Texas? 0. Texas doesn't have a state income tax. Neither does Florida. Trump moved from New York with a 10%, actually. I'll show you New York. $25 million. That's your Trump. 10.9%. He moved to Florida. What's the state income tax in Florida? 0. Why would you stay in New York or California? Weather's nice. Southern California. It's really nice. Like year round. What's that? So they use different methods. So property taxes in Texas are quite a bit higher. Okay, they use fees and so forth. Like the taxes in Kansas aren't this high. Okay, we have a pretty conservative state legislature. You're not going to see high taxes in Kansas on that, like that end. Okay, not like that. Okay, so the average American is going to pay about 40%. Let's talk about capital gains taxes. So I love these TV shows. Don't you? That they flip houses. You don't like those? There's a bunch of different ones. They're kind of fun. So this is capital gains. So if you flip a house, okay. If you flip a house and make $20,000. You do that twice, well, you're going to be out of this bracket. So capital gains used to just be a flat 28%. Then Trump was elected. Now they have income brackets now. Okay, so if you're flipping houses and stuff like that, you're going to be in here. You're going to pay 15%. If you're buying stocks, so you make $100 on a stock purchase, cash out, you get your $100. Okay, your capital gain is $100. 15% goes to the government. If you're wealthy, 20% goes to the government. Follow me? That used to be 28 for everybody. They changed that because they wanted more people to invest, entrepreneurs to start businesses, capital investments, capital gains. That spurs economic activity, okay? Creates wealth. So they changed this. This is going to sunset as well. Okay? Now, on this list I found of different countries, this is pretty interesting. Where are almost all these countries located? Okay. Guys, Europe uses socialism. Okay? Remember when we talked about Medicare for all? Okay? Pay attention. So if we did Medicare for all, so all the money, so if I got health insurance through Bishop Carroll through the diocese, okay? I have to pay a certain amount and then the diocese picks up the other part. Follow me? So we would take all that money that goes to insurance companies and we take that money and now pay it in taxes. With me? Okay. This is the average. The wealthy in France have a 75% tax rate. This is the average. We're 53 on this list because they take the average. So our average for the American, sorry, I get to 53. For the United States, the average is 24.47. So that takes all those 10 percenters, those 12 percenters, and those 37 percenters, and averages them together, okay? And we're at 24.4 as a nation. Make sense? Okay, so think about this. Guys, Europe, they have what's called, what some people refer to as the nanny state. So the government takes care of people. If you can't afford a refrigerator in France, the government will buy one for you. Okay, so people pay taxes. In Denmark, guys, not only do the wealthy pay taxes, but the poor pay taxes. Everybody pays because their social safety net is so big. It does so much. Everybody's got to contribute. Now, if you guys want to live and let it live like that and have Medicare for all, have a single payer system where government can be your daddy and your mommy and live in a nanny state, then you know which party to vote for, I think. Okay? These people have chosen this. These are not dictatorships. They have chosen this. And we may choose to do this at some point as well. You following me? Okay? I'm not being critical either way. That will be the reality. Now, if I was rich and living in France, paying 75% of my income to the government, I would leave. Now, here's something else I want you to think about. Boeing, who is their biggest competitor at building jet airliners, passenger jets in the world? Who's their biggest competitor? Airbus. And they're out of what? What country? France. Now listen, when Boeing hires people, they're also paying for part of their health insurance. That's an additional employment cost. You following me? They also have those payroll taxes for Social Security. Yes? Where in France, Airbus, they have universal health care. The government pays for everybody's health care, so Airbus doesn't have to use that money to give to their employees, which means they have an advantage competing with Boeing as far as employment costs go and costs of doing business, which the biggest cost of doing business for most companies is employment costs, payroll. You guys with me? So, I mean, it's a complicated system. Now, our tax code is horrible. That's why you need accountants. Now, some of you guys will be able to do your taxes on TurboTax or one of these programs, okay? But once you start making some money, you might start giving to charitable causes. And in this country, if you give money to the church, you can write that off on your taxes, right? Right? I love that. If you give to a multitude of charities, you get to write that off. That's good because charities help people. I like that part of the tax code. Trump did not want his taxes released to the public. He fought it, and fought it. Guess what, guys? About a month ago, they released his taxes. You didn't hear about it because there were no surprises. Trump has lots of different business ventures. He's in real estate. He's got resorts. He's got golf courses. He's got Trump Tower in different cities around the world. Some of those businesses make a lot of money. Some of them lose money. And have any of you guys taken accounting? You guys learned about depreciation yet? Right? So like if you're a business and you can write off certain things, like I'm taking a client to lunch. I'm taking some clients to play golf today. You write all that off as a business expense. Okay, that comes off your taxes. So you have these big corporations like Trump Organization that has good functioning businesses and those that don't. If you lose money this year or last year, you lost money last year, but you made money this year, you can write off those losses from last year on this year's taxes. Now, why do we do that? Why is the tax code set up like that? Because it was written by rich people to protect rich people. Now, you're also protecting businesses, guys. We have are you familiar at all with our bankruptcy laws in this country? Like, you can run a business into the ground, declare bankruptcy, and not go out of business. Chrysler, United Airlines. Trump's, has he declared bankruptcy? Some of his businesses? Yeah. The tax code favors the rich. Now, I would love to see some of these loopholes taken out. You know, I'm really opposed to the nanny state for corporations as well. Corporate welfare. Why are we subsidizing oil companies? Now, I understand why we subsidize farmers, but we subsidize corn farmers to make ethanol. We grow food to burn as fuel. And we use a lot of fuel to grow the corn to use as fuel. And you can't make money doing it, so you need subsidies from the freaking government. Just like solar panels and the wind turbines. You can't make money doing it, so the taxpayers are going to subsidize it. Sorry. All right. So, taxes. This is how you're going to answer this question. If you want to cut taxes, you don't want to see the sunset here on the Trump tax cuts. Forget the name Trump. Do you want to keep the tax cuts put in place in 2017, or would you like them to revert back, corporate to 35, the income tax back up to where it was 39.6 for the wealthy, taxes go up for the poor a little bit? You decide. Okay? Good? All right. Was that fair? I thought I was pretty fair on that. I mean, it's really just what you want out of government. What you want government to do and not do. Okay? All right. Against hate crime legislation. All right, before you answer this, let me talk to you a little bit. Okay? This is relatively new, guys. About 20 years or so, we've had hate crime laws. Okay? And the moment we can point back to is a case involving a young man in his early 20s named Matthew Shepard. You guys heard this name before, Matthew Shepard? Okay, he was living in Wyoming. He was in his early 20s, and he was gay. He went into a bar, and there were these two other guys in there that certainly recognized that he was gay. They got Matthew Shepard to go with them in their pickup truck. They took him out to a remote area, and they beat him to death and left him hanging on a fence. Yeah. This made national news. Everybody was talking about it. Now, this crime was committed for the sole reason that Matthew Shepard was gay. So legislatures and the U.S. legislature said, you know what? We need some laws to prevent this from happening. So the U.S. government has hate crime laws that if you harm somebody or commit a crime against somebody based on their religion, their race, their ethnic origin, their gender, their sexual orientation, you can be charged with violating somebody's civil rights and be charged in a federal crime. Some states have additional hate crime laws as well. So let me give you some examples and some hypotheticals. Okay? Every year, we play Northwestern football, right? And they got some silly students that come over here, put a Northwest t-shirt on Jesus or Mary out front, right? Maybe some toilet paper, that sort of thing, right? Harmless fun. Now, if that really bothers you, I'm sorry. I think it's funny. Jesus loves people at Northwest too. Okay? And they're just trying to remind us. Okay? But let's say one of them's being an idiot. There's one in every crowd. And he decides to spray paint on the school. Bishop Carroll states. Now, what's the crime that has been committed here? Trespassing? Vandalism? Maybe destruction of property with the spray paint? Okay? Now, all I'm going to do here is change some words. Instead of spray painting, Bishop Carroll stinks, they write Catholics suck. What's the crime? Trespassing, vandalism, possibly destruction of property, or possibly a federal hate crime. Let me change it up a little bit. Let's say you're Islamophobic. You don't like Muslims. Now, if you're unaware, Muslims don't like pigs. They don't like pork. It's filth to them. They don't touch it. So, you want to get back at the Muslims. So, you go to the Dillons and you buy a slab of bacon. And you sneak over there to the mosque at night and throw a bunch of bacon around the front door. What's the crime? Huh?
Throw it inside just to hit them.
Trespassing? That's on private property. This is private property. Yeah. Let me give you another one. Say you have somebody that's anti-Semitic and they paint a swastika on a synagogue. Or on the sidewalk in front of the synagogue. The number one group, I think I told you this in history, in the United States that is subject to hate crimes are Jews. And it's not even close. It's not transgender people. It's not gays. It's not Muslims. It's not Christians. Jews. Okay? Now, let me give you another one. See if you can figure that out. This is a hate crime. Okay? Me and a black guy get a little bit of argument in a store. Okay? He says something about my mother. Talk about my mother. Don't talk about my mother like that. So I punched the guy. He punches me back. We're in a fight. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a fist fight. But you want to talk about adrenaline? Who knows what's coming out of my mouth? So, while I'm in a fight with this guy, and I end up winning, so I knock him out, and in the process of that, you guys are all witnesses to this. And I use the N-word like 15 times. Cops are called, they show up, he's laying on the ground knocked out, I'm bloodied up. And they're like, you should have heard this guy. What he was saying to this black guy that he just knocked out. Now, why did I get in a fight with the black guy? Are the cops going to believe me? Are the cops going to be able to read my mind and know what was going through my mind as this went on? Guys, we are the most diverse nation on the planet. We have hundreds of millions of interactions between people that are different in this country every day. And 99.99% of the time, those interactions are peaceful. When I go to Sam's, and one of the checkout people is a transgender, okay? It's a man that wants to be a woman, or maybe she is a woman, okay? Do I avoid going to her line? No. I've been to that checkout line several times. She gives good service to the customer, pleasant. Do I accost them and say nasty things to them? No. Treat them with dignity like any other human being, as we all should. And that's the vast majority of the time in this country. That's the way it goes. When that one instant happens, the media loves to blow it up. Because the media loves to divide us. Well, let me come back to Matthew Shepard. About 10 years after that murder was committed of Matthew Shepard, a journalist started digging into the case. Now, this journalist has some credibility because the journalist himself was gay. He ended up writing a book on it. What he found out in his research was that Matthew Shepard was dealing meth. And the two guys that killed him were his suppliers. And Matthew Shepard was most likely murdered over a drug deal gone wrong, rather than the fact that he was gay. Did the media talk about that? Did it get near the news that the first original crime had? Absolutely not. Okay? But that's the truth. Guys, I don't know. Now, how many of you guys knew about these laws before I talked about them today? So most people that are bigoted, that would commit these types of crimes out of hate, are ignorant. Wouldn't you say? You're going to commit a crime out of hate like that, you're an ignorant person. So if a lot of ignorant people don't even know these laws exist, are they going to stop it from happening? And then you get the false ones. The fake hate crime. Did you guys know about Jesse Smollett? Dude. He's a black actor who's gay. He's got a great gig, dude. He's doing awesome. He hates Trump. So he stages a hate crime against himself. This is a famous person, even though you haven't heard of him. Because you live under rocks. Jesse Smollett hired two Nigerian guys to put on MAGA hats, red, Make America Great Again hats. The dead of winter in Chicago in the middle of the night. Jesse said he was going out to get a Subway sandwich. It's like freaking 10 degrees. And then he gets beaten up by these two MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters. And they put a noose around his neck. He thought he was going to die. Dude, he's on Oprah. He's on Ellen. He's on Good Morning America. This is all over the news. MAGA Trump supporter. Now, first of all, what are you doing going to Subway in the middle of the night in the winter? Second of all, which you're allowed to do. Second of all, how many people you see walking around Chicago with MAGA hats on? Dude, you walk down the streets of Chicago with a MAGA hat on, somebody's going to say something to you. You understand that, right? You may even get beat up. The cops right away were suspicious. They were like, this doesn't really add up. But he was like crying on TV. Of course, he's an actor. I mean, he's pulling this off, dude. People are like, the vice president of the United States is talking. Kamala's talking. Everybody's talking. What happened to Jesse? This is Trump people. All made up. Dude went to jail. That cost the police a lot of money to do this investigation. They wasted a lot of people's time on this. Okay? And dude, have you ever heard of the Duke lacrosse team? ESPN did a 30 for 30 on this. It's incredible, guys. Now, you want to talk about the height of white privilege? Okay. Duke lacrosse. Okay. These are a bunch of rich white kids that grew up playing lacrosse. Okay. This is a country club sport in the Northeast. All right. Okay. Like these are like privileged white rich brats. That's how people look at it. Okay. Well, some of them are idiots because these idiots were having a party and they invited a stripper. They hired a stripper. She was black. When the night was over, people are passed out, all this, right? Big party, college. I'm getting texts from my daughter at 4 o'clock in the morning. Her friends, she's like, I stayed because they needed a ride home. What do I do, Dad? Like, Lily, just tell them. If you need a ride home, I'm leaving at midnight. If you want a ride, come on, I'll take you home. But if you're going to stay late, I'm not staying all night tonight. You know what I mean? College is stupid. These people are stupid. People do stupid things, okay? I did stupid things. Now, I don't know. My kids, man. I'm so impressed by my kids. Seriously, like my son was the DB. Junior college baseball. Talk about idiots. Okay. Well, these Duke lacrosse guys, she claims that she was gang raped by 3 or 4 of these lacrosse players. Guys, you want to believe the victim, right? This girl comes out. They believe her. Okay. She seems sincere. National news. White kids, rich white kids, black dancer, gang rape. They fired the coach. They shut down the lacrosse program at Duke. No more lacrosse at Duke. All those guys lost their scholarships, and 3 or 4 of them were brought up on charges of rape. And then they started to find holes in her story. And then she admitted she made the whole thing up. Guys, we've seen a lot. This happened at K-State just like 2 years ago. A black guy painted a bunch of racist crap all over his car. And said white supremacists did. They caught him. He did it. Now, guys, I'm opposed to treating people with hate. You know what I mean? And especially committing crimes against people. Dude, hopefully you're never a victim of a crime, I have been, and it sucks. It's awful. You feel hopeless. So I'm not trying to minimize that, but is this a slippery slope? What is considered a hate crime? Who gets to decide? Or do we treat a crime as a crime? I don't know. Have I been fair on this? I don't know. There is bigotry in this country, guys. There are hateful people and violent people that will do things because they hate other people's religion, their identity, their race, all these things. It's out there. Do we need these laws? So if you think we need these laws, say no. If you say, you know what, a law should be a crime, should be a crime, and we should judge it as that, say yes. Okay. Okay, everybody in here last semester had history. And everybody in here remembers Chiang Kai-shek, who was the dictator of China during World War II. They were our friends, they were our allies. The war ends, we beat the Japanese, they got to go home. They leave China, there's a civil war. Mao Zedong, the communists versus Chiang Kai-shek. Mao wins. Chiang Kai-shek flees to the island of Taiwan, Formosa at the time. Taiwan, okay? And then Madam Chiang takes over his wife and democratizes and capitalizes Taiwan. Capitalist economy, democratic elections. They are still Chinese. They speak Chinese. They have Chinese culture, same history, but they claim independence from mainland China. Since the 1950s, the United States said, we will defend Taiwan from China for the last 70 years. Now, this may happen sooner than later. So we're going to have to make a decision as a nation. Now, President Biden, within the last few months, has said, we will defend Taiwan. And then his handlers told him, you need to clarify that. That's the Joe Biden I like. That says what he thinks, not what other people tell him to say. Now, I want you to think back to Operation Sea Lion, when Germany was going to invade Britain. Remember? An amphibious landing. They had to get air superiority, right? They couldn't. Think back to D-Day, when we made the amphibious landing on the beaches of France. How difficult that was. The gap between mainland China and Taiwan is more than 100 miles. This would not be easy for China. Taiwan has a good military. They have good defense. They have good technology because they bought it from us. On their own, I don't know if Taiwan could stand. With the help of the United States Navy, they got a fighting chance. Would American ships be sunk, including aircraft carriers? Most likely. The Chinese have developed a hypersonic missile, okay, which we would have trouble stopping. Okay. Now, Americans would die. Hopefully, this wouldn't turn into a bigger war. That's always a possibility. So here's the question. Do we risk American lives, our Navy, for this reason? Let me tell you what happens if we don't. Our allies in Southeast Asia, which include South Korea, Japan, Philippines, Vietnam. Yes, Vietnam. Even though they're communists, they are better allies with us than they are with China. They do not like China. Vietnam is relying on us. Australia. You could throw India into this. If we do not protect Taiwan, those countries will seek protection from somebody else. Most likely who? China. Guys, China is doing what we did after World War II. What Britain did in the old days is putting her tentacles into Africa and into Central and South America. China is on the move. They're buying farmland in the United States. Where is the most cobalt and lithium that is used for electric car batteries mined in this world? You guys understand that mining for lithium and cobalt is extremely hard on the environment, yes? Mining in general is tough on the environment. You guys not know about this? What's going on in the Congo? Who owns these mines in the Congo that we are getting these the components, materials for batteries? Chinese own these mines. The Chinese also have what we call like these precious rare earth metals in China that they're mining in China as well. We are relying on China for these rare earth metals that go into these, the electronics, your cars, and especially electrical vehicles. Brazil just elected a socialist leader. China has good relations with Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil, and Argentina. You guys remember when we talked about World War II, right? This is important. So guys, we are about a quarter of the way through the 21st century, 2023. The 20th century was an American century. You could say the 19th century was an American century. At the end of this century, will we be saying that it was an American century, or will we be saying it was a Chinese century? Right now, guys, at Davos in Switzerland, the elites of the world have gathered. The World Economic Forum. Anybody know about this? Andrew? Okay. The elites of the world. Listen to me. These people are smarter than you and I are. They're wealthier than you and I are. And they have a vision for the 21st century. They will come back to their countries and try and convince our Congress, our presidents, our politicians to execute that plan for the 21st century. Do they have your best interest at mind? You should be paying attention to what is happening at Davos right now as they fly in on their private jets, leaving a much bigger carbon footprint than any of you or I will ever leave, preaching to us and telling us how we're going to live our lives in the future. You should be paying attention to this. Most Americans are clueless. Most people around the planet are clueless. I am not. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm telling you. They're smarter than you. That's what they think. They're richer than you, for sure. And they have more influence than you. Okay? So, stay awake. Pay attention. Not just to me. Okay? I can post some stuff to you if you want. Guys, I sound like a freaking conspiracy theorist up here. I promise you, I am not. Okay? Defend Taiwan? You decide. How many guys going on the march? Okay, tune in. Mr. E. Bright. I'll be looking for how many views I have. Okay? Got some interesting topics to talk about. You're not going to miss anything other than that. So if you want to be able to learn, and would you say that you learned more today than you knew when you came in here, right? About taxes, about hate crimes, about Taiwan, maybe. Okay. Do your job. You got one job.